Peter Obi coming to the Independence Square of Ghana on a very sensitive day like the 7th of January to address the youth of this country. A young man by Professor Lumumba coming to Ghana, most especially Julius Malema coming to Ghana, Dr. Arikana coming to Ghana. I think these are the Nkrumahs of Africa. Our Ghanaian Nkrumah is gone, but these are the Nkrumahs of other countries. Today they are in here to speak to the youth. We get here and we realize that the program is cancelled. We were invited as student leaders of this country.
Student union leaders expressing their frustration after the Ghanaian government sent military men to stop the New Africa Convention that was supposed to be held in this square. The likes of Peter Obi, Lumumba, Malema and others were supposed to speak at the convention, but the Ghanaian government decided to cancel it at the last hour. Now, many people are asking, why did they cancel the convention? What were they afraid of? Although the government didn't give any reason for the cancellation, but making an educated guess and with the thousands of youths that came out to hear from these leaders, it becomes obvious that the government didn't want anyone motivating their citizens into thinking that the government isn't doing enough, that the government isn't delivering good governance. And this kind of thought might lead to something else. It might even lead to instability or more protests by the citizens to demand for good governance from their government. Yes, this is the most likely reason. People thinking that it might be Tinubu or other leaders in Africa that pressed the button and convinced the Ghanaian government to cancel the convention. No, it's not likely, because even Tinubu has never stopped Peter Obi from making any speech or holding any convention in Nigeria. Why will he then do that in Ghana? Even in South Africa, they've never stopped Malema from speaking or holding any public convention to address the people. So it doesn't look likely that the cancellation of the convention by the Ghanaian government was as a result of external influence.
That Africa's future is in the hands of our youth. So New Africa Foundation specifically requested us to come and address African youth, starting with the youth in Ghana. And from what I'm hearing, the youth had actually come from all over Africa, and some came from outside Africa, specifically to hear the message of empowerment, the message about our future, the message about the miseducation of not only our youth, but us as Africans, the message about empowering our children and letting them know that now it is the time for us to do what we must do to take our Africa back. For far too long, we have been lied to. For far too long, we have been miseducated.
Looking at the speakers, these are people who speak truth to power. Peter Obi was able to rally millions of Nigerians under 1 year before the presidential election. His message reached the non-educated and the highly educated, the rich and the poor. He was able to bring his message to the understanding of millions, and they believed him. It's not as if the message he brought was something people have never heard of, but because he made it clearer, he was able to pass his message in a certain way that people understood it and believed that it is possible. He always tells you the problem and he will tell you the solution. Now, let's hear what Peter Obi said at the press conference they held after the convention was cancelled.
Well, we're providing for tertiary institution scholarship, 5 billion in our budget, and we have 6 billion to do car park for legislators. Is that a fault? Not a sort of colonialism. So let's talk about that. All this. So this is where we start. We don't have a national library. As a country, the #1 country in Africa, our national library was awarded in 1995 and it's being built to today. But our legislators are providing 3 billion to buy books for their own library. This is not issue of colonialism. It is issue I want us to start dealing with our problem. I don't believe that at this stage anybody is a problem of Africa except Africans themselves. And I want the youth to start dealing with the issue head on. And that's where I start. I don't believe I've traveled all over the world and by infinite mercies of God, I mean, with my own background as a trader, passed through certain schools where I claim not being a professor, not being a doctor, but I claim to be an alumnus of some good schools. And I said to them, I don't believe there's any white man, there's any yellow man, there's any red man who is more intelligent than I am, or any African is. We are children, we can compete. Africans can compete with anybody and do better. But we need this fair leadership.
Peter Obi's extensive use of data to explain problems in governance and corruption helps to pass the message for the average man to understand. Let's look at one example.
We, the politicians, have turned the country into a gigantic criminal enterprise. And it must be dismantled for it to guarantee future. Corruption kills three things that makes a society. It kills entrepreneurship. Nobody thinks in a corrupt country. So you don't want to create. And entrepreneurship is what changes society. Because people are thinking, creating wealth. It kills professionalism. Tell me how people will be working hard doing research to be university professors when they're seeing people who have not been anything, who are not supposed, who they are supposed to look up to them any moment. You see me complain. How do you tell anybody that you buy a car of 160 million naira for a legislator and you pay a professor 400,000 a month? So if the professor decides not to eat, not to do anything, but to save his money, annually he will save maximum 4.8 million naira, call it 5 million. So if he saves his money for 30 years without eating, without doing anything, he will not be able to buy the car he bought for himself. It is unacceptable. You must dismantle this.
There are several examples that Peter Obi uses to explain things, like the one he used the landmass of one state in Nigeria, Niger State, to compare with Israel and another country, that Niger State is bigger in landmass than Israel and that country. He has also used Netherlands as an example, despite having a very small landmass compared to many states in Nigeria. Their agricultural output per annum runs into billions of dollars. This was exactly why he scored significant votes in Niger State. He was able to convince them, and they believed that they could make more money under someone like Peter Obi being the president. This is why you see the Niger State governor always running around Tinubu because of the 500-hectare farming something they want to do. He wants to convince him to do it in Niger State. It's not about copying ideas. In fact, they don't really need to reinvent the wheel. The problem lies with implementation.
The journey of hope continues apace, not only within the continent of Africa, which is the mother continent, but to Africans in the diaspora. I have no doubt in my mind that there is a conspiracy of sorts by the elements that it is happened the way it has happened. So this is not an occasion for lamentation. It is an occasion for redoubling our efforts. And our presence here in Accra, Ghana, my good friend, Honorable Obi, my dear sister, Dr. Rikana Chihomri Kwao. This is the occasion for which the English word serendipity was created. It is a serendipitous occasion that heralds a great future for the continent of Africa. So that looking forward, a meeting such as this will happen not only here in Accra, Ghana, but I look forward to a meeting such as this taking place in Ouagadougou in Burkina, taking place in Dakar in Senegal, in Nairobi in Kenya, in Johannesburg in South Africa, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, because this is about the continent of Africa. And we say this at a time when we know that Africa has promised to ourselves that we are going to make more intimate our interaction. This is why the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is headquartered here in Accra, Ghana.
So anyone that comes in contact with Peter Obi or Lumumba must learn one thing or two. You will see the honesty. That's why corrupt people in power do not like people like him, because they expose a lot about them. They know that when honest people come to power, they always block the loopholes that they use to steal money. This is not about politicians alone. Even civil servants and all the people that benefit from corruption, they will always oppose the honest person because they know it will be over for them when such a man comes to power. Yes, these types are united by corruption, never divided by ethnicity or tribalism.
Peter Obi on a flyer, I will spend the last penny to be here.
Now, coming back to the cancellation of the New Africa Convention by the Ghanaian government, the organizers of the convention will learn one thing or two from the event. Next time, they will not need to waste all the money bringing people, organizing and everything. Even the speakers must have wasted their money on flights to Ghana. So maybe next time they will be conducting such conventions online, maybe on X or using Zoom to do the meetings where people can tune in and watch live, so that many Africans, especially the youths, will understand that despite the fact that their countries are poor, that their leaders can still do more with the little revenue that they earn. This is basically Peter Obi's message: using government funds judiciously, being able to manage the funds and prioritize projects so as to create immediate impact in your country. Instead of, for instance, like it's done in Nigeria, they are busy renovating mansions of the government when there are critical areas that need intervention. Most European countries that you see today all started out as agrarian societies before the Industrial Revolution. So most African countries can actually do better if they are able to manage their resources better. Also, a criminal enterprise will never go away willingly. You have to fight them with all you have before you can win them. And it is an eternal vigilance. Let's assume that a particular African country, their youths are able to take over their country and chase away all the corrupt politicians. If they don't stay on guard, their remnants will be able to sneak back to power and they will be back to square one. So it takes several generations to change the governance culture in a country. Children born into a place where they don't dispose waste properly will grow up thinking that to litter is a normal way of life. That's how humans work. Humans start early to learn. So if the society are used to bad governance, corruption, it will continue to thrive. Many people will continue to see it as being a normal way of life. So it is eternal vigilance. The people that will do the revolution today must pass the baton to the coming generation, the same way they will pass it to the next one. That's the only way we can make sure that Africa must realize their full potential. Thanks for watching.